Throne of Isis by Judith Tarr. Read by Grace Conlin. Act 1. Alexandria and Tarsus. 41 to 40 B.C. Chapter 1. Once the chamber had been all gold. Now it was gold and crystal, and in the center of it, dead image of a living name, the king. The embalmers of Egypt had done what they could do to a man dead of fever in the Babylonian summer. They had not wrapped him, or he had been unwrapped long ago, even before the splendor of his golden sarcophagus was sold off by a successor king with debts to pay. His armor glittered in the light of the lamps. His face was now in shadow, now in light. The life that had animated it and, the tale said, made it beautiful was gone. Flesh had sunk in on strong bones, strong brow, strong arched nose, strong chin. The hair was bright still, near as bright as the gold, cut and combed to fall like a lion's mane. Dione traced the carved letters of the name. Alexandros. Alexander. The rest of it, the titles, the prayers, the grandiosities of kings, mattered little as the death that in its way had made him immortal. She looked from the dead face to one as alive as any could be. The dead man was the prettier, but for character there were few to match this woman who had turned from the bier to pace the wide gleaming chamber. Even Dione suspected the great Alexander. "Gods, I miss that man," said Cleopatra. She did not mean Alexander, who in any case was 3 centuries dead. Dione raised a brow. "Still?" she asked. The queen stopped before she struck a pillar, and spun to face Dione. She could mince and sway like a court lady when she chose, but her native gait was a light, free stride that was nothing at all like a man's. "Still," she said, "I could wish him devoured by dogs and not burned on a pyre in Rome for haunting me with such persistence." Dione's hand flew up in a gesture of warding. "Avert the omen." "Dear good little priestess," said the queen, not kindly. She tilted her head toward the man entombed in crystal. "Now, if he haunted me, I'd be delighted. I can face the ghost of a god dead 300 years. A man dead a mere 3. "A god," said Dione, "if you believe the stories that come out of Rome." Cleopatra curled her lip. Her nose seemed longer than ever, her chin the more pronounced with the vividness of her scorn. Gaius Julius Caesar was a great man, a brilliant general, and a perfect scoundrel. If any god owned him, it would be his Mercury, who so loves thieves. She was entitled to say so. She was herself Isis on earth, mother and goddess. Even Caesar had granted her that, Caesar who granted nothing that was not to his own advantage. Dione wondered now and then if Caesar had loved his Egyptian queen, or merely found her amusing. When he was alive, she had never been able to tell. That the queen loved her witty, cynical, thoroughly unscrupulous Roman, Dione had never doubted. "I was going to seduce him coldly," said Cleopatra, "bewitch him as I very well know how to do, wind him round my finger, win Egypt for myself, and Rome for him, and rule a world. And what became of him? Rome. He had to go back. He had to take what it offered him. He had to court his death as eagerly as he ever courted me." Dione was silent. Cleopatra moved toward the bier and looked down at the body within. "He envied you," she said to the dead king. "He wanted what you had, all your fame and your death, too. Do you know how many wounds it took to kill him? 23. They counted. Romans count everything, then they seize it. Or if it objects, their legionaries trample it under their feet." "Including Egypt?" Dione asked softly. "Oh, no," said the queen with quiet that was remarkable if one knew her temper. "Egypt will conquer Rome. Yes, even with Caesar dead, he would have been Osiris to my Isis. Now he is Osiris indeed, lord of the legions below. Even Roma Dea has no power against that." Dione sighed a little. She had not meant it to be heard, but Cleopatra's ears were quick. "What, my friend, do I bore you?" "No," said Dione, truthfully enough. "But we came for a purpose, and I've been wasting the time in nonsense. I maunder too much. You should stop me sooner." "It does no harm," Dione said. "It exorcises him after a fashion." "You too?" Cleopatra asked. Dione shrugged. No, she thought, but did not say. He did not haunt her, not so much. She had admired Caesar, enjoyed his wit, taken pleasure in his company, but she had found him cold as all Romans were, caring for nothing but their own and their family's gain. He could have been so much to Egypt, but he had chosen Rome, and Rome had killed him. Cleopatra laid both hands on the sarcophagus. They were long hands, beautiful as her face was not, ringless in this place of the dead, with fingers both slender and strong. Dione felt the air stir. Here where the doors were shut, the windows barred. The banks of votive offerings seemed to tremble, flowers both fresh and withered, amulets of stone and bone and metal, wine, bread, images of the god-king that bore varying degrees of resemblance to the man in the tomb. Petals quivered as if something had brushed against them. One of the images toppled sidewise upon a silver salver. The metal rang softly like a bell heard far away. Dione started at the sound, then rebuked herself for an idiot. There was power here. How could there not be? Here was Alexander, dead. Here was Cleopatra, living. Here was Dione herself, priestess of Isis in the two lands, voice of the goddess from her childhood, gifted with magic beyond the lot of simple mortal women. It spread its cloak about her before she even willed it, shielded her from the white heat that was Cleopatra. The queen lit the incense in its golden censer, sent the sweet smoke on its course toward heaven. She poured the libation from golden cup into golden bowl. She spoke names of gods and powers, one by one, and in order as reverence decreed. Dione murmured the words with her, but otherwise did nothing, said nothing. This was not her right or her invocation. It was not for her to step forward in it, except as friend and fellow priestess. Cleopatra bowed to the power of the gods that was in this place and returned to the sarcophagus. Again she laid her hands on it. "Give me a sign," she said. Her voice was much as it always was, low and sweet, like silk over the steel of her will. "Show me what I am to do. My Osiris is dead. My Horus, my Caesarion, is a child still and has no father. My kingdom, my two lands, will be devoured by Roman vultures, unless there is more strength in all of us than we have needed before." The tomb was still, a stillness as unnatural as the wind had been before. Dione stood silent, not even breathing, eyes fixed on Cleopatra. This was no formal ritual, no invocation of the gods in the temples of the two lands. Therefore, the queen wore no sacred vestments, only the simple gown of a lady of the Hellenes. She looked like any woman in Alexandria, taller than some, maybe, and plainer than many, though a familiar eye might call her handsome. And yet there was no mistaking what she was. The gods above all knew their daughter and spoke to her when the mood was on them. Now, it seemed, it was not. She waited long, motionless, wordless, an image of pure will, but no answer came. At last she moved. Her head bent, she drew a slow breath.